Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the one skill that makes you absolutely irreplaceable, especially now in a world full of intelligent machines. Okay, so to really get what I'm talking about, just look at these two answers to the exact same question. On the left, you ask Alexa. You get an answer that's instant, it's accurate, totally factual. But on the right, you ask Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton. The first answer gives you data. The second one, well, that one makes you feel something.
And that feeling, that is the key difference in the world we live in now. See, intelligent machines can handle the facts, the data, all the routine stuff way better and faster than any of us. But what they can't do is connect or inspire or persuade. In this new world, just being average isn't going to cut it anymore.
As New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman famously said, "The age of average is done. It's over. Technology can do all the average work now." So, the real question for you is, what's your unique value? What's the one skill you have that a machine just can't replicate?
Let's look at this AI called Lebradas. It was designed to play poker, and it beats some of the best players on the planet. How? By calculating trillions of possible hands. It's pure brute force logic. But what's really interesting is what Lebradas can't do. It can't read a nervous twitch. It can't sense a bluff from across the table. It has no gut intuition, no empathy.
And this isn't just about games either. In Japan, they built an AI called the Todai robot to take one of the country's toughest college entrance exams. And you know what? It outperformed 80% of the human students. It did it just by memorizing and spitting back facts with perfect accuracy.
But here's the kicker. The robot couldn't beat the top 20%. And why not? Because those students had skills that a machine can't fake. They could think creatively. They could communicate complex ideas. They weren't just repeating facts. They were making new connections between them.
So, if AI is getting better and better at logic and data, what's our move? What is our truly irreplaceable human skill? Well, the answer isn't some shiny new piece of tech. Actually, it's thousands of years old. It's persuasion. And look, this isn't some soft skill. In an economy that runs on ideas, being able to combine words and concepts to inspire people, to build trust, and to actually move them to do something, that has become the single most valuable asset you can have. More than 2,300 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle basically gave us the entire playbook for this. He broke persuasion down into three parts. There's logos, which is your logical argument, the facts. Then there's ethos, that's your credibility, your character. And finally, pathos, which is the emotional connection you forge with people.
Now, all three are vital. You need them all. But what's really fascinating is that Aristotle was onto something that modern neuroscience is just now proving with brain scans. Science has shown that pathos, emotion, is the most powerful driver of them all. It's emotion that grabs our attention, that builds trust, and ultimately it's what drives us to make decisions.
All right, so let's move from theory to practice. Let's see this ancient superpower in action by looking at some modern masters who used it to do some pretty incredible things. Think about President Kennedy. He had to inspire 400,000 people to do something that seemed impossible, put a man on the moon. And he did it with this simple rhetorical formula. First, he focused everyone on one single electrifying goal. Second, he made it concrete by giving it a deadline, before this decade is out. And third, he connected everyone's job, from the janitor sweeping the floors to the lead engineer, to this profound sense of purpose. Or take a guy like Haseeb Qureshi. He was a world-class poker player who taught himself how to code. But after getting rejected by 20 different software companies, he realized his tech skills alone weren't enough. He actually called himself unsellable. So what changed? He learned how to tell his story. He went from 0 offers to a full-on bidding war that ended with a $250,000 job offer from Airbnb. And this gets right to the heart of his big breakthrough. Haseeb realized that an interview isn't just a chance to list your skills. It's a chance to tell a story. He learned how to frame his journey as a narrative, with a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. He turned his unique background from a weakness
into his greatest asset.
This power of human connection doesn't just work for individuals. It can change entire industries. Take healthcare. A huge national survey found that a staggering 70% of patient complaints had nothing to do with bad medicine. They were about poor communication. People just felt unheard.
So what was the fix? It wasn't more expensive machines. It was more humanity. The Cleveland Clinic created this simple communication framework called HEART. It just taught doctors and nurses to hear the patient's story, empathize, apologize, respond, and thank them. The results? They were revolutionary. Patient satisfaction shot through the roof.
Okay, so we know persuasion is the skill we need, and emotion is the key to unlocking it. But what's the best way to actually create that emotional connection? Well, that brings us to your #1 weapon.
And that weapon is story. For thousands of years, the most powerful and memorable stories have all followed this simple, proven framework, the 3-act structure. You start with the setup, you introduce the hero and their world. Then you dive into the conflict, where they face obstacles, and you end with the resolution, where they overcome those obstacles and are changed. It's the blueprint for basically every great movie, and it's the blueprint for a killer pitch.
Let's use a real-world example, the founding story of Airbnb. Act 1, the setup, starts with a problem that is super relatable. You've got 2 designers, Brian and Joe. They're broke, and they can't pay their rent in San Francisco.
Then comes Act 2, the conflict. This is where the tension really builds. They start maxing out their credit cards. They pitch their crazy idea to 20 different investors, and every single one of them says no. They hit that point that screenwriters call the all is lost moment. It really looks like the dream is dead. And that, of course, brings us to Act 3, the resolution. Just when everything seems hopeless, they throw a Hail Mary and apply to the famous startup accelerator Y Combinator. And it works. It's the lifeline they need. With that little bit of support, the idea finally catches fire.
And what's the result of that incredibly powerful 3-act story? A company that managed to build trust between total strangers, created a whole new industry, and is now valued at over $30 billion. That's more than any major hotel chain on Earth. That is the power of a great story.
But look, this isn't just for billion-dollar startups or presidents. This is for you. Your ideas matter, but they can only change the world if you can persuade other people to believe in them. In the age of AI, being able to tell a compelling story isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's your superpower. So, I'll leave you with this. What's your story?